I want to talk to you today about a strategy called debt recycling. Now, debt recycling is something that I've been doing a lot with my clients recently. And basically what debt recycling is turning non-tax deductible debt into tax deductible debt. Now, the benefit of this is that it pays your home loan off much quicker. It supercharges paying your home loan debt. It saves you money in tax, and it also builds wealth. So a few things that you need for this strategy to work is an owner-occupied property, and you need to have a bit of equity in that property as well. You also need to have a solid income, and you also need to have a goal of building long-term wealth. Now, if we've got those things in place, then we can do the strategy. And I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about how that works. Now, let's say you've got $1 million property and you owe $500,000 on that property. Well, your LVR, that's the loan to value ratio, is 50%. $500,000 owing on $1 million property. So what we would do is we would dip into the equity available and we'll take that loan to value ratio up to, let's say, 80%, which means on $1 million property is $800,000. So what that means is that we would have $300,000 that we can put into the investment market. So we now have at year one, a $800,000 loan, $500,000 on the owner-occupied property, and $300,000 on the investment loan. Now, what that investment loan means is a couple of things. Number one, that investment loan is tax deductible. The interest is tax deductible. Number two, that's also going to pay dividends. Okay, so from the shares that we owe, the companies and the profits that they acquire are going to be paid to the shareholders. Now, those dividends, along with any tax return benefits that you get from their investment loan, as well as filtering any surplus income that you've got, goes into your owner-occupied property. So let's say after 1 year, for example, using easy numbers, we've been able to pay off $100,000 off that loan. So now instead of a $500,000 loan on a property, it's $400,000. We've still got the $300,000 investment loan. This is the recycling part. What we're going to do is go back into the equity, borrow that $100,000 we paid off, and turn that into an investment loan. So now we're going to invest another $100,000 into the equity market. So we've got $400,000 on the owner-occ, $400,000 on the investment. Still a total of $800,000. In that second year, what that means is now that we've got a larger investment loan, which means a bigger tax return. It also means that we've got more shares, which means more dividends. So this process is now going to be accelerated, and we're going to have even more money going in to the owner-occupied property, along with the surplus income from your ordinary wages as well. So then let's say, again, easy numbers, let's just say you paid another $100,000 from your owner-occupied loan. Well, instead of $400,000, that's now knocked down to $300,000. We've got $400,000 in the investment loan. Again, we're going to recycle that debt. We're going to borrow another $100,000, and we're going to invest that money. So we're back to $800,000 loan, $300,000 on the owner-occupied mortgage, $500,000 into the investment loan. Obviously, what that means, again, the recycle of all of this means that we've now got a larger tax return because we've now got a larger loan, and we've also got more dividends filtering in to the property. So essentially, that's how debt recycling works. I want to run through a model that I've done and show you how the numbers work and what it means to an ordinary couple who do this strategy. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we're now going to run through a very high level and general debt recycling model so we can take a look at how all of this works. So let's have a look at this particular couple. We've got John, aged 42. We've got Jane, aged 38. Now, when I'm doing a model, I can take many factors into account, including how much cash they've got. So this couple have a cash of $50,000, and we want to retain $50,000 in their account for a buffer at all times. We have a salary for John at $110,000 and $85,000 for Jane. When we are doing a model, I can also take into account one-off salary adjustments. So this can be things like perhaps maternity leave or leaving work for a period of time to go back and study. As I mentioned, this is going to be a very high level and basic model. So I'm going to disregard all of those. The next thing that we will look at is the super assets. So John has $260,000 and Jane has $180 in their super fund. We can also take into account additional concessional and non-concessional superannuation contributions. As I mentioned, keeping things very simple. So again, we're also going to disregard that. You can also take into account other income. This may be in the form of a second job or rental income. Again, keeping things simple, we will disregard that. And other investments. So at this particular time of their journey, they have $0 in their investment portfolio. Now, because we are doing debt recycling, we know that there's going to be investments coming into their portfolio in the future. So I'm going to calculate those at a 5%. So quite conservative numbers. Living expenses for this couple is going to be $70,000. I can also take into account one-off expenses. Now, this might be in the form of purchasing a new car, it might be a holiday, or it might be other miscellaneous life expenses that arise. It's going to be an important factor to consider, but as I've mentioned already, keeping things quite simple and high level for this particular model. Now, when we go and have a look at the actual inputs of the property itself, as I mentioned before, this is where we do that, and we've got $1 million for the property that we're building this scenario on. I did mention that they had a 50% LVR, so 500,000 is their current LVR, and we're going to take that up to 80%, $800,000 in the debt recycling model. Now, before we go and have a look at that and the effect that debt recycling has, I want to just take a look at a number of graphs here. And what this represents is their current situation. So this is basically doing nothing and just keep going the way that they have been. So this is a 30-year model. And by the 30th year, you can see that this couple will have a combined net wealth excluding super of $7.1 million. Now, it's really important to factor in that a lot of that is coming from this green portion, which is their own occupied property. And the reason that's important to consider is it's not income producing. And the orange is their cash and other investments. So if we then go and have a look at their main residence loan, you can see that starts off at $500,000 in year one, where we are currently, and that's taking them a full 30 years to pay off. And the last graph I want to show you just in this particular model today is their tax savings. So because they haven't implemented any strategies at this stage, you can see that their tax savings over 30 years is $0. So what I want to do next is go back and just make some additional changes to this particular model, and we're going to turn on the debt recycling. So the first thing that we spoke about is directing all of your surplus cash into the main residence loan. So we're going to do that and say 100% of our surplus cash will go into the own occupied property. We're then going to come down here and we're going to turn the debt recycling on. We're going to come back up to here, and we're going to direct that debt recycling into the main residence and have a look at how things look. So now if we take a look at the same situation, all we've changed is we've turned the debt recycling on. This couple have gone from a total net wealth, excluding super, of $7.1 million to $9.2 million over the same 30-year period. You'll also notice that the portion of green, which is our own occupied property, is much smaller, and we've got some blue, which represents the equity. So now most of their net wealth is actually income producing, which is a really important factor as well. I also then want to go and show you what this looks like as far as supercharging your home loan. So if you remember before, it was taking a full 30 years. We had 500,000 and it was taking a full 30 years to pay that off. In this scenario, what we can see here is that it's now only taking just over 8 years, or just on 8 years to pay off. This represents the blue line still. The green line represents their investment loan. So as you can see, as the blue line, the owner-occupied property, is coming down, the green line, the investment line, is increasing right up until we get to $800,000 on this particular investment loan. And at that time, your owner-occupied loan has come down to zero. And then at this point, we just taper that off for the rest of the time that we are implementing the strategy. The next thing I want to show you is the tax, just so we can go and have a look at that, because we also talked about the importance of that. Now, based on this particular couple's scenario, over 30 years, we've been able to save $213,000 in tax. So quite a incredible result for this particular client. Finally, I want to bring you across and just show you some reporting that I would produce each and every year for clients who implement this particular strategy. And this helps people just to have a look at how the model or how the strategy actually works in plain numbers. So on this particular row, you can see that we've got the property at $1 million, and that's increasing in value over the next 30 years. Here we have the current home loan. So remember I said $500,000, and as you can see, and this shows a clear point, how we get from $500,000 down to zero over the next 8 years. Running in conjunction with that is the investment loan. So as I said, $500,000 to start off with on the owner-occupied property, $300,000 on the investment loan. And you can also see that is growing in line with the owner-occupied property coming down until we get to a maximum of $800,000. The LVR starting at 80%, as you can see. And then we go and have a look at how much interest, so total interest payment, principal, additional payments, and the total repayment. So in this one, you can see that these are the additional payments made from the strategy that we're going to implement. Finally, I want to show you this last model here, this last part of the reporting here, which actually shows us the investments themselves. So as you can see here, the opening balance is at $300,000. That's increasing each and every year as we are injecting funds. So this is the equity injection from the debt recycling. This is the starting balance, as we mentioned, at $300,000, which is increasing. And after the 8th year, we've injected everything that we're going to put into the portfolio. And then at that point in time, it's just capital growth, and that can grow for as long as we want it to, or we can sell out at any time. So that gives us a high-level view on how debt recycling works. A bit of a warning, I would say, though, is this is just general look at things. There's many things in life that we haven't taken into consideration, and nothing's ever going to be this smooth. So I would never attempt to do this strategy without having some sort of financial advice that's personalized to you. So just a general look at things today. But if you like what you see, if this looks like something of interest to you, reach out to me at LOC Wealth. I would love to be able to help you on this journey, do some modeling for you, and see if this particular model would be a good fit for you.